Good evening and welcome to this regular session of the Lakeville Area Schools Board of Education. This meeting is officially called to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members in attendance tonight include Director Kelleher, Director Thompson, Director David Anderson, Chair Baker, Director Lind, Director Carly Anderson, and then the board is joined by Acting Superintendent Dr. Emily McDonald, members of the Executive Cabinet, Brenda Albrecht, sorry I can't see because the bottles are in the way, Bill Holmgren, and Michelle Humphrey. All right, before we get started, I just want to say that today is a very special day because we have a lot of birthdays at the table today. So happy birthday to Director Carly Anderson and to Dr. Emily McDonald. So happy birthday. On to good news.
Thank you so much, Chair Baker. I have two items tonight for good news, but I have to say that we've had staff back since last week, and that is the best news of all. And obviously, we have students coming next week, so it's super exciting. There have been some amazing things going on in the buildings as I've been out and about. So I'll start with, we served 807 students at our 11th Ready, Set, Achieve event. We have to say thank you, of course, to the generosity and support of our Lakeville community. The students were able to access free school supplies, books, food, and other resources. Our event was last Tuesday, August 20th, so we had a great turnout and we had a significant number of volunteers, some of whom are in this room with us today, so we thank you for your support. I also want to give a shout out to the community, whether it was an individual small donation or some school supplies or a larger donation that we have had from businesses and community groups and individuals in our community. We could not do this without you, and we are so appreciative. And to see the students walking out with their materials and feeling ready and prepared for school is gives me goosebumps a little bit. So if you want to check out all of our partners, you can go to our website at isd194.org/news, and again, we thank you for your support. Another little item of good news is we had 11 Lakeville area students earn bilingual seals. This is a new program, well, fairly new program through the Minnesota Department of Education. And in the spring of 2024, a select group of students voluntarily took the bilingual seals assessment, demonstrating language proficiency in languages other than English. Students who show proficiency need to do so in all four modalities of learning, and that is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And then they're awarded one of three things: a certificate, a gold seal, or a platinum seal. Many state colleges and universities throughout Minnesota do award college credit for these bilingual seals, and it's a nice recognition of our students' multilingual abilities. We are thrilled to announce that 11 students from Lakeville North, Lakeville South High School, and Lakeville Online Academy received those awards. We had 3 that received the platinum seal, 7 received a gold seal, and 1 received a certificate. So we want to say big congratulations to those students. Well done, and we're proud of what you have accomplished. And that's what I have for good news, Chair Baker.
Thank you. For board communications, we just want to let the public know that over the the board will be participating in a board retreat. It's going to take place over 2 different sessions where we'll be discussing our board goals, looking over our board goals from last year, the surveys that we've taken internally as a board team on how we work together, and then setting some new goals for next year. So we all look forward to that work. Do we have?
Can I add one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt you earlier when you were talking about Ready, Set, Achieve, but one of the things that the people who are directing that organization talked about was just basically making sure we highlight the incredible work of our custodial staff. And so they were just talking about how for weeks and weeks they get all these supplies delivered to Lakeville North, and they have to basically get them all, organized and put in the areas that they need to. So I just wanted to give that shout out to our custodial staff. So thank you.
Well, that's very important. Thanks for adding that. I appreciate that. There's a lot of work that goes into that event, and there's a lot of people that make that happen, so thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Director David Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Lind. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Are there any items that board members would like to remove from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight.
So moved.
So we have a motion by Director Lind. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Carly Anderson. Any discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. So we do have some reports tonight with recommended actions. The first item would be voting on a Board of Education clerk. As the community is well aware by now, Director Shinley has resigned, and so we need to replace her position as clerk. So I will entertain any nominations for the position of clerk.
I'll nominate, or you want to? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Someone do it.
I'll nominate Carly Anderson.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Director Carly Anderson for the position of clerk. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations for the position of clerk? Okay, hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of appointing Director Carly Anderson as clerk, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Director Anderson. All right. Our next item on the reports with recommended action is a vote on the interim superintendent. That would be for Michael Baumann that the board interviewed yesterday. Do we have any a motion on that, or is there some discussion that the board would like to have on that item? Director Thompson?
I'll make a motion to hire Michael Bowman as interim superintendent.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to go ahead with the hiring for the interim superintendent position for Michael Baumann. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
The second by Director David Anderson. Any discussion on this topic? Director Keller?
One of the things that I mentioned last night that,
Can you hold your microphone closer? Sorry.
on though,
Yeah.
there.
Just couldn't hear you, sorry.
One of the things I mentioned last night is with this process and just any of the processes that we do, I know we talk a lot about wanting to be transparent with our community, and I think processes are extremely important, and Superintendent Bowman, addressed that as well. That and communication, and then the consistency with how we do things and what we do, like when we have our meetings and so forth. And so I just want to make sure, because we're getting emails about this process, and we technically really didn't have a process around this. And so as we go forward, we're going to have to appoint a board member. We're going to have a superintendent hiring process. We're going to have, we have the levy referendums. We have lots of things that are going to be happening over the next several months. And I think it's going to be very important that we be sure to lay out the process, that the board agrees what that process is, such as what we did with boundary adjustments and so forth, and make sure that the community is well in tune to that process and where and when they have time for input and feedback. And so I just want to make sure that we value that, because the process is extremely important here, not just here, but in all that we do. And the clear communications about what we're doing, the timelines, and why we are doing it, I think, is really critical, and I think a lot of that's been missed lately. So as we move through these upcoming processes, I'd like to make sure that we value the process, the communication, and the consistency with what we're sharing with our community, so that they can also be engaged. That's the best way that we can have successful community engagement. And I think that's been lacking. So I just hope that we continue to move forward with better processes and communications as we go through the next several months.
I appreciate your feedback on that. I will speak to the process a little bit. During this time, I had reached out to MSBA. I was working pretty consistently with them on what the interim process is. It is an informal process, just because of the timeline is short, and obviously it's a short period of time. The board met with MSBA during our training, which was specifically over finding a superintendent, and we did have discussion around the process for hiring an interim superintendent, and it was discussed. One of the things that was discussed was the hiring of a retired superintendent to fill the interim role and what that would look like. When you're hiring a retired superintendent, obviously they're retired and they're not looking to be a long-term position or looking to have any type of a scenario where they're in competition for a job or anything like that. MSBA laid out that process for the board. We talked about how the school board chair will call candidates. Those names are given to us through MSBA of retired superintendents that they know that are interested in the positions. Called some candidates, and then, when you have a candidate that you think is viable for your district, then you bring it to the school board. We had that meeting yesterday where we had Michael Bauman come in, and the board had a chance to talk with him about that. And then, of course, then the final process would be the board vote. If the board decides that this is not the candidate for the district tonight, of course, that process will continue, where we will call another superintendent and see if we can find someone that's interested in that interim role. So just to be clear, I just want to make sure that the board did have some process around that. Maybe it's not specifically the process that we've had in the past, but we haven't also come into contact with not too many times where we've had to have an interim superintendent, so.
I appreciate that, but what I was referencing was the fact that we have the process explained to the community and the board before we go through it, so they're aware of what the process is going to be and not after the fact. So we have a lot going on, and I just think that that's an important piece with community engagement and student engagement.
Sure, thanks for your opinion, I appreciate it. Any other discussion on this topic? Director Carly Anderson?
I will just say that I thought a lot about this. We have received some email feedback, I think, in terms of how people feel about hiring Mr. Bauman. And, some of the things that I brought up last night in our meeting is in terms of things that are important to me, thinking about someone who can, I feel like we've kind of righted the ship with the finances, and we're going in the right direction there. I care a lot about this upcoming levy and making sure that we maximize our mental health supports in the schools and things that are going to get kids ready for their next steps after high school and as they move into high school and things like that. And, one thing that is also very important to me is as we are just recovering from a lot of what we have gone through in the past several months. I know the summer has been quiet for some things, but there was a lot going on right before the end of the school year. I would like to just see us kind of move into calmer waters so that I think the board can really focus upon what we need to do, which is one of the most important things we do, which is just do a very robust superintendent search. And so I was at Eastview today and just talked with some of the staff there about how they would feel. And one thing that really stood out in terms of what probably 3/4 of the people told me is that Mr. Bauman, when he was superintendent, was very visible, very present in the classroom, that they felt supported. And, I know this is an interim spot, and as we think about the future, I do think there have been things that have changed in the past few years regarding just having a broader systems vision and things we need to, I think there are good things that happened in the past couple of years that I would want to see him continue, but also I think he has the right ability to come in knowing what he's walking into, allow us to focus on what we need to focus on, and get morale back up where hopefully it needs to be and where we would like to see it. So I feel good about this decision, so I just wanted to share that.
Well said, thank you. Director Lind?
I have three reasons why I'm going to support him. One is because of his experience in the district. He has a great understanding of the community and school cultures, needs, and values. And as a result, he can hit the ground running with very little catch-up needed, I think. He's gone, less than 2 years. And secondly, because of his experience also, Michael B. will provide the stability and the continuity in leadership during this period of transition. I think that's important. Thirdly, most important to me, is the fact that Michael's always kept the welfare of our students and what is best for our students in his heart as a guiding principle in making all decisions. That, to me, is a crucial quality of any superintendent that's going to be here. That, to me, is number one.
Thank you. Any further comments? Director Thompson?
Yeah, you know, from an outsider's perspective, it does feel like this process seems rushed. And again, when you look at the number of days that have passed from the previous superintendent to now looking to find a new superintendent, it's a very small window for asking someone to support and manage our $200+ million operation, our 12,000 students, you know, our 1,400 staff, and so forth. So it's one of those that we want to be mindful of, making sure that we're making a good decision. And so, with that being said, we still have to run a school. And there are still transactional and key events that need to occur. We've got the levy, we've got potential facility growth, and all the other key initiatives that we may want to get done this year. And so, with that being said, what kind of candidate do you want to bring on board? And I thought, there are external candidates out there, and with external candidates, they may not know where Eastview is at. They may not know where Lakeview is at, and so they got to go figure that out. They may not know the principal's name of the Lakeville North or South High School, or they haven't been to a Lakeville South Cougars football game, and I think they won a lot. So, but these are some intangible things that you don't get with an external candidate, and so when you have someone where they check quite a few of the boxes and seem like a very good qualified candidate to keep us afloat, keep us moving forward, and has a vested interest in the success of our district because he lives in our district, then I think it is okay to go a little bit faster if those things align. And so with January 1st approaching, with new board members coming on board, I think it will be important to have someone who is experienced and has gone through this process and be able to provide guidance and process knowledge changing to new board members of how things work. And so I am in favor of this as well. Thank you.
So one thing that I would like to say about Mr. Bauman is in education, as someone who works in education, one thing I'm always looking for is heart. And that's something that can't be taught in a classroom. Anybody that has a heart and a passion for education, for our students, for our staff, for our community, for our district, and I feel like Mr. Bauman has that, just overflowing from everything that he does. So that was one thing that I felt just really stood out about him. As a community member, I was involved when he was hired as superintendent, and I remember the things that he said then, too. I think one of the things that really resonated with me last night is he said, nobody's perfect. And I love that statement because in education, we're always saying that to kids. We're trying to teach them the mistakes are learning opportunities, and I want staff to feel comfortable. And you can make a mistake; it's okay. We learn from that and we move on. And I just like that that value that resonates. That the passion for education and that the understanding that mistakes aren't the end-all, be-all of things. We learn from them and we move on. So I do appreciate what you're saying, that it was a pretty, quick turnaround there. I feel that we were very, very fortunate that, hadn't called very many people and already had someone that was very interested in our district, that has been here before, that knows our staff, that knows our students, and has the leadership that I think that we need during this interim process. Director Thompson.
So the other comment that I'll share is that whether it be an internal person who lives in Lakeville or an external, it is still the board's responsibility during our retreat to establish board goals. And then part of those board goals is to make sure that we have the appropriate oversight and how we want to engage and work with the interim superintendent. And so tomorrow when we have those retreat, I think it's very important that, Director Carly Anderson, the comments that you've shared earlier as well, and Kim Baker and Terry Lind, we've got it's still our role to provide oversight in how our district operates. So even though an interim superintendent is in place, it is still our responsibility to make sure that things keep running. So tomorrow's retreat or working session should be super, we should have a good dialogue and conversation about that. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the table. So we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, knowing that we don't have any additions to the agenda tonight, we'll go on to the superintendent's report. Dr. McDonald?
Thank you so much. I do have a brief update for all of you this evening. As you know, we do have a question on Tuesday, November 5th on the ballot regarding an operating levy for our school district. Those 4 areas are to expand the arts and music programs at the elementary level, to really focusing on improving media literacy by restoring our media specialists at the middle and elementary schools, to provide more consistent academic, career, and college readiness and personal social readiness for all students by expanding our counselor and social worker programs at the high school and middle school, as well as strengthening our behavior supports by adding some behavior supports at the elementary and pre-K level. So the intent of this is really to make sure that we are serving all of our levels and providing additional supports. I wanted to just give a quick update on what's happened since the board voted to have the question on the ballot in November. We do have a website that is up and running and active. It is at isd194.org/succeedingtogether. Residents or employees can find detailed information there about the positions being added, about the tax impact, about our why around why these things and why now. We also shared a short article with our community and our staff through our print newsletter, as well as our 194 Now newsletter, as also in addition to that on our website. And we have some exciting things coming up because, of course, we want people to know and be aware of this question and what we're asking of our community. So we will be hosting informational meetings that are open to the community. Right now, we have one scheduled for September 26th at Lakeville South. And we have one scheduled for October 7th at the district office. We are going to also provide a virtual option because we know while some do like to attend in person, it doesn't always work for everyone's schedule. So we want to be as flexible as we can there.
Do we have times available for that yet?
I don't have times right now, but we will be updating that information on the website. We're just finalizing all the details around that, but we'll make sure that that gets out. In addition to the community meetings, we have scheduled staff meetings to make sure that all of our staff are informed. And we've also scheduled PTO and advisory council meetings and opportunities to share the information as well. We'll continue to share information as is available. We'll do that through our website. We will do that through our e-newsletter, and we'll also do that through direct mail. And of course, people can reach out too if they have questions. And then we do have some signage and other things that are being prepared as we speak. And so those will be available shortly. So we have finished the process of sort of organizing all of our events to make sure that people do feel well informed about what it is that we're doing, and then we will go on our tour and make sure that we answer people's questions and feel like they have a sense of what's going on. Just want to remind people that This will be on the ballot, and oftentimes our questions end up at the very bottom,
On the back.
on the back of the ballot, so.
And the wording is very confusing, so make
Yes.
sure you check the website. We have pictures of the ballot on there and what it looks like with the wording so that you understand, because when you get to the ballot box, you don't want to be thumbing around on your phone trying to read that.
So, Chair Baker, I appreciate that, because this is something that it's difficult, because the language that we have to utilize on a ballot is required by law. So we do not have the flexibility to change that. And oftentimes, our community finds that wording to be confusing. The reason being is because when we speak to levy, oftentimes we will present that through what it looks like on what the tax impact would be for an individual citizen, resident living in the community. So in this case, if we look at our current levy, we're asking for $4 million over 10 years. That's about $13 a month for the average price home in Lakeville, which is $465,000. So $13 a month on a $465,000 house. What you'll see is on a ballot, it's written in a per pupil format, which does not always equate to what your actual tax impact is if you are a resident. So we'll go over all of those details, and we will break it down step by step and make sure that people are clear. But it is a nice opportunity why we're talking about it today, just to sort of get that initial thinking out there that those things may not always line up. The bottom line is the dollar amount is the same. It's just the way that we frame and word things. So thank you for that. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, the board will go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, to engage in discussions with the school board's legal counsel related to litigation in the case of Cajun versus ISD 194, court file number 22-CV-02135-JWB. The Board of Directors seeks legal advice on responding to the lawsuit, the alleged claims against the district's attorney's analysis of the same, and the district's options for responding to such claims. That being said, I'll entertain a motion for the board to move into closed session.
So moved.
We have a motion by Director Lind. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director David Anderson. Any discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries, and the board will move into closed session at this time. Thank you.